So here is a rough diagram that I have made. Just imagine that this is a human being and here are the elbows. I want my sleeve to stop around the elbow area. If you want yours to start around the wrist, please take your tape rule from your wrist to the other end of the wrist. But I want mine to stop at the elbow, so I will take my tape rule from one elbow to the back of my neck and stop right at the other elbow. When taking your measurement, you need to make sure that your tape rule passes at the back of your neck. Make sure you do not take your tape rule at the front of your neck. You won't get the right measurement you want. And for me, my elbow to elbow measurement is 43 inches. Now, you're going to be adding about 5 inches, 8 inches or 10 inches to it, depending on how much you want to add for balloon folding, because anytime you add elastic to your fabric, it tends to shrink the fabric either by length or by width. So now 43 plus 5 inches, which I said I am going to be adding, will be 48 inches. And you can also add 3 inches allowance extra for side seam allowance. And this 51 inches is going to be the width of fabric I am going to be using for this tutorial. Now I would go on and separate the fabric I don't need. You can also take the same measurement at the bottom of your fabric so you can know where to separate. Now we're going to be folding this fabric like this and also like this. Now once you're done folding, this is the folded edge of the fabric and this is the open part of the fabric. And you already know by now that the folded edge of the fabric is where the neckline is going to be. Now from here, we're going to take the length we need for this tutorial. Now on this length, you're going to take your hip circumference divided by 4. Now once you've taken those measurements, the next measurement you're going to take is your ease. You can take 1 inch for ease, 2 inches for ease. For me, I decided not to add ease because I want it to be a bit fitted at the length area of my blouse, so I added my side seam allowance instead. Now the next measurement you're going to take is your shoulder to waist line measurement, and you're just going to mark it like this. Now you're going to place your waist circumference divided by 4 on this your waist line. And the next measurement you're going to take here is your ease. Now you're going to take 2 inches for ease or 3 inches for ease because we want this blouse to be free at the waistline area. And I am taking 2 inches for my ease and also 1 inch for side seam allowance. Now connect your waistline to your length just like I just did. Now we're going to be taking the neck depth of 3 inches and the neck width of 5 inches. Now connect your neck cuff. Now the next measurement you're going to take is your shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2. This measurement is really not necessary, but we're just going to do it so you can understand better. Now once you've done this, take your tape rule and you see this 5 inches mark you placed on your fabric, this 5 inches neck width measurement. You're going to place your tape rule at that 5 inches mark on the other side of your fabric, and you're going to take your tape rule over like this, and you're going to minus 1 inch from your actual shoulder to shoulder measurement. My shoulder to shoulder is 16 inches and I'm going to minus 1 inch. Now you can minus 2 inches or 3 inches depending on how off the shoulder you want yours to be. Now on this place, I am taking my shoulder to waist measurements and I am just connecting that waistline. Now from this mark, I am going to go upwards by 2 inches. And from this place, this waistline, I am going to go downwards by 3 inches. Now we're going to connect this to this with a slight curve. And once you're done connecting these two business partners, we're going to move on to the business of cutting. Now this is very important. You need to notch that neckline, just a little bit of notch. If not, this marriage is not going to work out. Now open up your fabric and you see that notch you made right there. We're going to connect that line all the way to this mark. You remember this mark? This mark is that shoulder to shoulder minus 1 inch. When making your curve, try not to get too excited. Don't go on and make really deep curves. And I think I made a little bit of that deep curve right here. Make sure you don't go too deep. Now we're going to cut this out. Next thing we're going to do now is to create facing for the neckline. And we're just going to place our fabric on a folded fabric and we're going to start retracing the neckline just like this. Now you're going to take 1 inch or 2 inch or 3 inches depending on how long you want your facing to be. Now we're going to cut. Now the first thing I want to do is double folding the hem of my fabric. And once I am done double folding and pinning, I am going to go on my sewing machine and I am going to stitch all the way to the end. And I'm also going to do the same to this other hem of my fabric. Now we're going to move on to the neckline and start pinning the facing to the neckline. And you can also use a bias for this neckline instead of a facing. Now once you're done pinning, you're going to go on your sewing machine and you're going to stitch, joining your facing to your fabric. Next thing you're going to do is move on to the sleeve and start making a double fold on the sleeve and start pinning. Now while making this fold, you need to make sure that your elastic can pass through this fold that you're making. Now once you are sure your elastic can pass through this, you're going to go on your sewing machine and you're going to stitch from one end to the other. And you're also going to do the same on the other side of your sleeve. Now as you can see, I am done stitching the neckline and I am just making my notches around the neckline so the neckline can relax better. Now once you're done making these notches, you're going to take this to your ironing board and start making your ironing on that facing so the facing can relax better on the wrong side of your fabric. And now as you can see, I am done making that ironing. Now I really do not like to leave it like this. I always like to go in with my needle and thread just to hold it down at some parts, and this is how I do that. All you have to do is take like tiny strands of your fabric and into your your facing and start stitching and making your knots. And once you're done, you need to make sure that you have no visible stitches on the good side of your fabric. And now, as you can see, I am done making my stitches and there are no visible stitches on the good side of my fabric. And I'm going to go on and hold these down in a few more parts. Now, once you're done with that facing, you're going to move on to the sleeve, and we're going to start inserting our elastic band. Now, to cut your elastic band, you need to measure where your sleeve would stop. Now, like I said, my sleeve is going to stop around the elbow area, and I'm going to take that measurement, and what I have right there is 12 inches, and I'm going to minus 2 inches from it. Now, if you minus 2 from 12, that would be 10 inches, and the length of elastic band I'm going to be using would be 10 inches. Now, using my safety pin, I would put my pin into the elastic and hold it to my fabric so it doesn't move, and this other pin is going to go into the hole of my sleeve. And now, once you're done gathering, you need to go to your sewing machine and you're going to stitch from those points. Make sure you remember to make a back stitch, okay? And you're going to stitch all the way to the length of your fabric, and remember to make a back stitch to end that stitch. And when stitching this part, you need to make sure that you get your elastic band. And once you're done stitching, go on and fix the elastic band on this other side of your sleeve, and also stitch to the end of your fabric. And as you can see, I am done making that stitch, and this is what the finished look looks like. And I'm going to put this on and show you what this looks like on me.